Unmanned Systems forces struck 10 targets in the occupied territories and 2 more deep inside Russia. In Crimea, drones destroyed a radar station and a boat base. In the village of Dovhe and Donetsk region, 5 enemy deployment points were hit. In Luhansk region, an oil depot was on fire, and in Zaporizhia, 2 substations were hit. The strikes deep inside Russia targeted logistics hubs that supply the occupying forces. Next, we'll talk about the situation at sea. We're bringing in Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesperson for the naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Mr. Dmytro, welcome. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. Greetings, studio viewers. Happy New Year to everyone.
To you as well. And may it be a happy one for Ukraine. Mr. Dmytro, tell us, what is the current situation in the Black and Azov Seas? Are there currently any Russian military warships present there?
Now, at the moment, there are no ships present. The same goes for submarines. Aviation, of course, is currently active, but in any case, the overall situation remains stable, you could say. As for air attacks in general, the situation has not changed significantly. Unfortunately, air raid sirens do still periodically sound in Odessa, reminding residents to stay alert. Basically, the challenges remain the same. These are ballistic missiles from the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea and kamikaze drones. But today, you could say things are generally more or less calm and peaceful.
Mr. Dmytro, tell us about the aviation. You mentioned that it is present. What kind of aircraft are these? What are they equipped with?
Honestly, you could probably do a whole separate episode just about this particular topic, because there is so much going on here. Basically, everything that is available in terms of options and choices is flying around in this space right now. The aircraft fleet is actually quite diverse, starting from various types of helicopters, literally all of them that are currently in service with the occupying army. They're used both for monitoring the surface situation and for counter-drone operations. For patrolling the waters, they also use airplanes, which are quite outdated, such as the B-12, for example, and the B-200. There are also modern aircraft that are used for monitoring the surface and air situation, conducting reconnaissance, and sometimes, though not often, for carrying out strikes. And of course, reconnaissance drones play a significant and crucial role, various types, ranging from tactical to operational tactical level drones, some of which are even armed for specific missions. Unfortunately, this situation has remained unchanged for us for several years now. But in any case, I can't say that they can, for example, as some might suggest or believe, like at the end of the year 2023, enter our territorial waters and drop mines at this time. At present, based on the information available to us, there is no indication or evidence to support the possibility that such an action could occur under the current circumstances.
Mr. Dmytro, do weather conditions at the front have an impact? Under the cover of fog, the Russians try to infiltrate cities in small groups, 1 or 2 at a time. And regarding the Russian fleet as well as the Ukrainian Navy's response actions, could you explain how dependent they are, in your view, on specific weather conditions, particularly during the challenging winter period?
Right now, we're actually in the off-season, yes. And even though Novorossiysk is now considered the main base for the enemy fleet, and even though these are also ports that do not freeze during the winter, navigation during this particular period of the year is still quite difficult and challenging. That's a particular feature of this geographic location. You can encounter strong southern winds here. It's called the Bora, and it complicates navigation, both when leaving the port of Novorossiysk and even if you manage to get out, for example in slight rocking, Really, no one risks using carriers for launches if the waves are more than 3 or 4 points on the scale. These conditions, created by the Bora, can make planning and executing operations at sea much more difficult and unpredictable for sailors and captains alike. Submarines are a different story. But again, as you can clearly see, the available statistics indicate and demonstrate that their use is indeed planned, but it is certainly not massive or widespread at this time. That is, at most, 2 or 3 times a month. And for their regular patrols, they more often used their advanced submarines, of which they currently have only 2 remaining in active service, both equipped with Caliber cruise missiles.
Mr. Dmytro, there's information circulating online that the occupiers have strengthened the security of the Crimean Bridge ahead of the holidays. Can you confirm this? And what exactly are they doing?
Well, police measures in the so-called Russian Federation are typically ramped up significantly during the public holidays. That's their usual and typical way of tying or connecting things, events, or actions to specific dates. Their usual attachment to symbolism. It's completely normal and expected for them. Because maybe they see or interpret the situation as one where their law enforcement authorities or officials might not be as attentive, vigilant, or watchful as they usually are, or as they should be. So, accordingly, someone might take advantage of that. And the checkpoint regime on the so-called Crimean Bridge is, in essence, basically the same as what you would find at the border. There are thorough inspections and often pretty long lines to get in. So they, so to speak, increase their attention and vigilance to such sites on these kinds of significant dates. But for the most part, these are precautionary measures connected to the activities and operations of the Russian National Guard, the police, as well as the FSB. And they primarily concern those individuals who are entering the bridge rather than those leaving.
Chief of the main intelligence directorate, Kirillo Budanov, called the most effective energy sanctions the precise strikes by Ukrainian special services on Russia's shadow fleet. Can you tell us how these strikes on the tankers of Russia's shadow fleet have affected the intensity of their movement in the Black Sea? Has it decreased?
Well, if we look at the incidents that have happened for reasons that remain unknown involving several different vessels, specifically those ships that are making repeated trips in the interests of the so-called Russian Federation and are actively helping them circumvent international sanctions on oil trade, here it should be noted that, of course, this situation complicates things for them. It makes their operations more difficult and risky as they have to find new ways to avoid detection and enforcement. But in any case, as long as the ports on the Azov and Black Seas are operating and remain open, as long as they have the ability to ship oil and other goods in this way during the winter months, especially considering that these are some of the few ports in Russia that do not freeze in winter due to their unique geographical and climatic conditions, there will continue to be such vessels. These ships, often referred to as part of the so-called shadow fleet, will have no official flags, no proper registration, no valid insurance, and will be sailing somewhere in the area, often in international waters, to transfer Russian oil at sea, away from the scrutiny of authorities and regulators. This ongoing activity is a direct result of the current geopolitical situation and the efforts to enforce sanctions, and it is likely to persist as long as these conditions remain unchanged. So, of course, it's clear that the desire of Russian civilian sailors to go to sea on such vessels is decreasing. But the problem itself will still exist for some time, naturally.
Mr. Dmytro, thank you for talking with us. That was Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesperson for the naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.